All right, good morning, everybody. It's 11:30. We'll go ahead and get started with the pre-commission agenda for the president's report. I just want to give a shout out to Rebecca and our team for kicking off the walk, bike, and ride events at Catalpa Park yesterday. There was a Learn to Skateboard event, and it was very well attended. And everybody did a really great job. And they're going to be hosting those events every other Tuesday for the summer. So just wanted to say thanks to them. And also our maintenance folks for a super speedy turnaround on filling a pothole within like 12 hours in my neighborhood as well. That's all for me. Are there any general housekeeping items or discussions of the agenda?
Yes, Madam President.
Commissioner Nelson.
If I could tag on to the good comments here. I told Justin I was going to embarrass him, but last night I was just leaving a meeting and an acquaintance walked up and said, thank you so much. I met with a really nice man at ACHD. And I said, Justin? And she said, yes. And he was so helpful and gave us good direction on the next steps. And this someone who's dealing with elderly parents and the disposition of their property. So, just a reminder that our customers are dealing with all kinds of stuff. It's not always developers or land development. It's just people just trying to help their parents. So I just want to thank Justin for being very kind and helpful to that person. So
thanks. Any other discussion items? All right, well, with that, we'll turn it over to Director Head for the director's report.
Madam President, Commission, thank you for those comments. We're proud of our team and for how hard they work and how much they care about the public and what they're doing there. Today we have a few updates on projects, but I wanted to visit with you a little bit more kind of in this prep for the budget session about some of the needs and the challenges that we're facing here at the Highway District. All of it is always focused around how being able to build the infrastructure for the public. One of the things that we've been diving into recently is really looking at how are we doing at retaining. We always say we hire and retain the best employees here at the Highway District, but we found that there is some challenges that we are having when it comes to retention. Just to give you some facts on this, of ACHD's current team members, we have more than 54% that have been with ACHD less than 5 years. That is a huge number, and we love and believe that in our new team members, we believe they bring a lot of creativity, but they also come with not as much experience. And as a public agency, that experience is valuable in what we're able to do. Since January, we've had 32 people who have left ACHD. Now, that's not a staggering or a record number, but just looking at the way this is broken down. 22 of those who left, of the 32, so 69% have left, and they were people who were here with less than 5 years of experience. Of those over that, the 10 that were over that 5 years, 7 of them left for retirement with 22 years of experience. So what we really see is that 5-year mark is a very defining point within our ability to retain team members for an extended period of time. Based on exit interviews and conversations with the leadership of these groups, one of the top concerns we're hearing for our newer employees is the pay versus the cost of living. That is a big deal. ACHD provides fantastic benefits, which is not something that should be overlooked at all. But amongst the newest team members, just being able to eat and pay bills tends to outweigh those benefits, and that matters to them. Just to give you a few more facts on this, the average rent for an apartment in Boise, based on the source that I found, is about $1,646 per month. So $1,646 per month, or almost $20,000 per year. For some of our employees, that rent alone could take up over 50% of their take-home pay. Benefits and mandatory retirement contributions, those great things about working for government, But 50% is big for anyone to spend on shelter. But for our lowest paid team members, the remaining 50% can mean the difference between childcare, trips to see family for the holidays, particularly, participating in extracurricular activities for their kids, any of those things. So that's a big deal. Looking at this from the ACHD perspective, replacing team members is not without cost either. First and foremost, losing team members greatly impacts our ability to build together, safe and more, that efficiency. It has been estimated that the cost to replace an employee can exceed 20% of an annual salary, and that lost efficiency and the cost to advertise and replace that. So applying that to the 32 people who've left, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of cost just to replace these. So we've been looking to say, what kind of solution can we identify to this that we could propose to you all? And this is something that we would propose coming up in the next budget cycle. So for all staff, we're recommending a 3% salary adjustment COLA. That's pretty standard in the industry right now, and it's what we're hearing will be standard amongst a lot of our peers. We're also recommending just a change in how we move people within our pay bands. So we have an adopted salary structure, and each position is classified within a pay band, and there's different points within that pay band that are step moves. And these step moves come in at 6 months, 2 years, and 5 years. Really what it is if you're not moving within the band, we're trying to make sure that by that 5-year mark, people are at a market rate for that position and for that level of experience. Really, the goal of these moves is to reach that average market and to help those who are coming into that 5-year mark to be able to move there. What we're proposing is to adjust these step moves upwards so that the earning potential of our team members increase faster. We're not looking at changing the scale. Really what we're looking at is just changing where people fall within that scale a little bit faster, so that people are able to move quicker in that and be able to make a wage that really would retain them, that they want to be here. While it's really just a minor change at the top end of the band, this will really help our team members achieve that market rate sooner. For those beyond the 5-year mark, we're also recommending really just a 3% adjustment to the max. That's not a lot, but for those who stay in a position for an extended period of time and hit that max salary, and usually they probably have been here 20 some odd years, they hit that point that we just want to give a little bit more earning potential to the team. We're also recommending doing a targeted salary survey for a few of our positions where we're seeing this is particularly challenging. So we've also just recognized, in addition, that ACHD has taken steps to ensure that our performance awards, really that's our merit program that we have here at the Highway District, that can get out to more people. And so that's the other side of how we're adjusting this. And so that will be one of the recommendations that we make within the upcoming budget. And now I know that there's always a question of how much is this going to cost? And so I wanted to share with you some of those early figures. Obviously, the final answer to that will be in the budget as we're able to apply it very specifically, and we'll share that with you through that time. The cost of living adjustment, 3%, equates to just under about $1 million. So about $950,000. With the money that we are anticipating to receive from the new construction change, that should be able to pay for that. As far as the pay band adjustments concerned, early rough estimates show this coming in between $500,000 and $600,000 per year for salaries. ACHD and the public benefit most from having those long-term employees watching over the roads, with the benefit of experience applied in many technical facets of ACHD. Based on the cost of replacing team members, this could really pay for itself in added retention and improved productivity. But we do believe that as we build the budget, that we can find a place to build this in. And really in my mind, the greater question is, can we afford not to do it? Right? If we're not able to retain our team members, we are losing a lot in what we're able to provide for the public, and that matters. Just to give you an example, this is just to show kind of what we're talking about within the pay band. If at 6 months they were at 10% within the pay band, that we would be bumping that up to about 20%. So that's just to give you an example kind of how that would play out and how someone would be able to move a lot faster through the pay bands and be able to feel a little bit better about the salary that they are able to get here. With that, Commission, I'll stop for any questions if anyone has any on that topic before I move on.
Commissioner Pickering?
Yeah, thanks, Madam President. Thanks, Ryan. I think we've seen historically the impact that not keeping up with the cost of living has had an impact on other municipalities and other highway districts in the Treasure Valley. So fully understand where you and the team is coming from. I was curious, like in the past, you have given us a little bit of an assessment around what types of positions are having the hardest time keeping up. So will you be giving us that analysis again this year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I will, and I can tell you now, the areas where we are seeing the most turnover is in our GEO position.
Okay.
The part of it, I think, is opportunities for growth within that position. There's only so many leadership roles, and so people get into that and they're not seeing the salary that they could make in other markets. And so this would help retain some of those. The other place where we're really seeing a big struggle is with our project managers. We have quite a few openings right now for project managers, and being able to really, what we're seeing is being able to recruit experience is very difficult. To find the pay that would match and we are never going to compete with the private market. We know that. But consulting and companies are hiring, they're attracting people, even contacting some of our staff directly. And we're hearing about that, trying to pull people away from us. So what we're looking at is how do we get people in that we can train ourselves, who are dedicated and committed to the highway district, and then hold on to them for a long time. Now that may mean for a time that we don't have as much experience here, but we're really trying to find ways, how do we get people in and hold them here at the highway district, that they want to be here. And I really believe that this is a good way of approaching that. But those are two key areas that we're having some real challenges.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nielsen?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. That's a lot of good data. One thing I'd be curious if we, in the exit interviews, understand, are they staying in the area or are they leaving the area because of the cost? Is it the cost, or is it they're being recruited to higher pay? Is the housing issue, it's being studied now by a interim study committee with the legislature. And I think if there's good information on the kind of the downstream impacts of that might, whatever you've prepared, I wonder if you would share it with me. It might be good eye-opening information, because there's a cost. I mean, there's, like you said, I want to get my head around the budget costs, but there's always a cost of doing nothing, like you said, and that's losing employees. And I want to get a good understanding. So if you could share that with the commission, that those statistics, that would be really helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Commissioner McKinney, did you have anything?
Yeah, thank you, Director. It strikes me that also one of the primary issues, and you've touched on this a little bit, is morale building and recognizing employees for the good work they do. And it seems to me that I suppose it's possible that can be overdone, but we're probably not close to that. I think what we can do to give people, the pay and benefits is something that we can adjust, but there are limits to how much we can do on that. The other side of it is the work atmosphere, the sort of pride of ownership in doing the work and so on, the sort of intangible benefits of, working for an organization that you enjoy working for. What sorts of things are we doing in that direction to give people more, satisfaction in what they're doing?
Yeah, Commissioner, that's a really interesting question. And how people perceive their work is all different, and different opinions on that. But really, we are trying to emphasize, and really, this is where I think you gain a lot of a positive experience with people who've been here a long time. People who see that, who really are here invested in what we do, and they bring a lot of that experience to the table. We are spending, one of the things that we've done since I've joined here is I meet with every one of our team members to express appreciation. We have a lunch with each crew, and we're spend time with them just to tell them thank you for what they're doing, and to take feedback from them. That's where some of this information's coming from, is because we're listening. We're sitting down with them. For our newest employees, we are definitely hearing that there is a good culture here, that there is a positive culture that's working. And so that's one of the areas where we're really taking time. We're also, we focus as an executive team, especially in the summer months, of getting out and going with our crews, spending time with them, and just so that we can tell them thank you in that moment, that we can really talk about that. You also saw at our all staff meeting, we're trying to highlight the different types of work people are doing and how it helps us build. We try and emphasize the projects from large to small that people are doing, and talk about those so that people can see that it matters, that the impact that they're having really does matter. So those are just a few things. Each of the departments kind of does it a little bit differently, but those are some of the things that we're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Director. Also, the recent all staff that we all went to, there was a large portion of that meeting dedicated to recognition and awards for all kinds of our team members too. Appreciate you taking a look at improving retention, and this presentation with the added context for the cost of not retaining folks. So look forward to more details as we continue to move through the budget process.
Thank you. So let's talk about a few different fun things that our team's doing in the area of Build Safe, and we've shared with you some videos that we've started that were developed by some of high school students in the area. This is all paid for by a grant through the Office of Highway Safety. But at the most recent Meridian movie night, we had our ads playing before. But at each of these activities, we're having opportunity for individuals to decorate, to come up with little messages. We're going to use these eventually as combined into a wrap for one of our vehicles with all the different messages that we're hearing from people. But this is just an example of one of the attendees there who came up with a fun little message to go along with our Glow Up campaign of being visible at night. And it sounds like from what I heard, there were about 1,200 people who attended that movie night. So it's the message is getting out there. So just an update on our chip seal process. We're about a week and a half in, and we've already completed 38 miles of that chip seal. So they're making good progress. They started up in the foothills areas, some of the longer roads, to be able to practice and make sure that we're fully in, tuned in there. But they're making good progress on the roads up there. Also wanted to share with you, just visited this morning, that lovely video shot by Stacy as we're driving down the road. But this project's been one that's been ongoing for many years and has been an interest for those who live up on the mesa. But this road has, we found a spring in the process of building this, but the progress is there. We're about 99% complete. You'll see at the bottom, there's one manhole that we have to get engineered and put into place, and then the road will open. So we expect that to open here within the near future, but pretty exciting to see that road there. It's it definitely feels much safer as you're going down it. That hairpin turn that's there is definitely a lot smoother and a lot more visible as you're going there. Wanted to share with you another one of our What Is It Wednesdays. You know, as we talk about what are we doing and how do we take care of our team, we also want to recognize how our team gives back in this. And so this was a great video that our team put together regarding our bridge inspection process. Oh.
Have you ever wondered how we inspect small pipes and large culverts at ACHD?
On this episode of What Is It Wednesday, we'll tell you how.
Hi, my name is Dennis Meredith. I'm with the Ada County Highway District. I'm the Bridge Inspection Coordinator.
And I'm Nate Acuff. I'm a bridge inspector for ACHD.
So here at ACHD, we're responsible for over 600 culverts and large pipes. One of the ways that we inspect those is with modified RC cars.
We use modified off-the-shelf hobby-grade RC crawlers, modify them so that they can float and swim through water and traverse any kind of obstacle that you would find within these pipes and culverts. We use an iPad for live video transmission, and we review them later on a high-definition screen so we can detect any faults or potential issues with the pipes. We have a variety of sizes of equipment so that we can tackle any type that we find. Any size of pipe from 12-inch up to as big as is reasonable, we can handle with these, and we upgrade it consistently to go farther in them.
We use these modified RC cars for roughly half of our small culvert large pipe inspections, saving us over $100,000 annually. Because of the way we were able to modify basic RC cars to build these systems and use off-the-shelf cameras and video screens, we were able to build these units for about $1,500 each. A commercial system that has similar capabilities but some other limitations costs about $250,000 to upfit. These units are able to rock crawl, wade across water, and even deal with ice all in the same run, something that no other commercial unit can do. Because the units are so small and portable, we're able to get in and out of the structures with minimal disruption to the motoring public. One of the main benefits of this system is the safety aspect. We're able to send these units in where it wouldn't be safe for us to go, and sometimes they can get where we couldn't go even if we wanted to. But additionally, using them ensures that the motoring public is going to be safer because we can find defects before there might be a failure. So we always have a tether on these units. We use a reel tape so that not only do we know how far in the unit is into the culvert, but we also have a method to get it out. And then we also have a rope lowering system so we're able to drop it into manhole access without us ever having to even get in there. And that's your What Is It Wednesday.
I think you would agree with me that the team is very innovative. They're very creative at finding solutions, and they find ways to do it for as little as we can in terms of cost. And so just grateful for the team and their work on this. It's fun to that's one of the more popular teams when it comes to Kids Day or other events that we have. Everyone likes to see those vehicles, but really they're powerful tools that we have here at the Highway District. So just a quick summary of some upcoming events. This afternoon is the Meridian State of the City at the Galaxy meeting space. You should have all received an invitation. There's a Shoshone Paiute blessing ceremony where they're looking to build a new casino.
Mm-hmm.
So an opportunity there. They've invited us to participate in that. Have a few neighborhood meetings. Our next walk bike ride, we have one on the 17th there that we're back at Catalpa Park. And you see some additional things. Lots of things are going on in the middle of summer. We do have May in Motion coming up, and our award ceremony on the 26th, as well as our tour of the TOC for our local mayors. A number of them have responded, yes, we may not get everyone there in the first try, and we may have to schedule a few different tours there, but I'm excited for all these upcoming events throughout this month of June. I will let you know I won't be here next week, so Shandy will be giving the director's report. Very excited to see how that goes, but look forward to returning back here in a couple weeks with you. So that'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? All right, thanks for another great report, Director. All right, with that, we will be at ease for 6 minutes until noon.
I did, thank you.
All right, it's now 12 o'clock. I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody in person and online, and please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first item is to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion?
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Next up is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a commissioner or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. All consent agenda items are commission action items unless noted. Don't think we have any requests to remove anything.
I do. I'd like to talk about item 2, please.
Okay. So you would just want to move that to the
Yeah,
regular
just
agenda?
move that to regular.
Okay, we will move that to item 1 on the regular agenda then.
With that, I move we adopt the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. That moves us to the regular agenda. We've got previously item 2 on the consent agenda, now number 1, CWI Interagency Government Agreement for Waiver of Impact Fees, request for approval.
Yeah,
Commissioner Rosewood.
yeah, Madam President, I had asked, and I apologize if I missed an email, but I just wanted to confirm that where this would apply or not would just be building permits for uses specifically as for the stated purpose of the College of Western Idaho, education buildings only. In as much as there's a large multi-use site being developed, and they own the land, but the impact fee waiver would only apply to those structures for educational purposes. So is that
Madam President, Commissioner
Clear,
Nielsen,
yeah.
you stated it perfectly.
okay? So that's all I really wanted to have, that confirmation, because it was, I didn't see that specificity in the template that was used. So that's all. Okay, thanks, Christy. I appreciate that.
All right, thanks, Christy. All right, do you have a motion to approve that item?
Yes, Madam President, I'll move that we approve the intergovernmental agreement between the district and College of Western Idaho.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. That moves us to discussion items, public communications. Is there anybody in person or online who wish to address the commission? All right, seeing none, meeting is adjourned. Moves us to post-commission agenda. We've got a work session, preventative pavement management strategy update. Welcome, Diane.
Go. All right, good afternoon, Commissioners, President Gold, and Commissioners. For the record, Diane Bevins, Deputy Director of Projects, and I'm here today to continue our conversation that we've been having regarding our pavement management strategy. So first, I want to make sure that I recognize the team because I'm not doing this alone by any means. We're meeting regularly to review our strategy and develop our refined strategy that we're proposing, partly proposing to you today. So we are all very committed to the process and the outcome of the review, as we are all very passionate about keeping ACHD's largest asset, now valued at $5 billion, which is a staggering number, in good condition. So I will get into the details, but first want to review a couple of things, our goals, and then our current state on the next slide. So these 4 items were all considered as we reviewed our current practices and evaluated new opportunities. The last bullet there, repave or reconstruct, that will be part of my August update. Today is focusing on preservation, pavement preservation. Yes. Preservation is the most important thing we can do to extend the life of our asphalt and to protect the taxpayers' investment. It's the most cost-effective thing that we do. So Here's a snapshot of our pavement condition back in 2016, and that's a date that's used often in comparison because we did our strategic plan, and it was adopted, and this was in the plan in 2016. While we are seeing a decline due to a number of factors, this is not unexpected or an indicator that our system is failing. Pavement condition naturally declines over time as it ages, and it is a cycle, and it will cycle back up when we repave, rehab, and reconstruct appropriately. So we have seen this diagram a lot, but I think it's worthwhile to revisit. This shows a particular segment and how it declines, not an entire system. So that was something that I don't know that's been stated, all the times that we show this graph. So every segment would look a little different if we graphed it because pavements can vary so much, just the quality of the asphalt, quality of the aggregate, how it was placed, the soils, the amount of traffic and size of vehicles over that particular segment. We want to utilize pavement preservation treatments because they are cost effective. And you can see this in the graph that the preservation treatments keep that PCI in good condition. If the PCI declines and you get into mill and inlays or reconstructs, those are significantly greater costs to bring the PCI back up into good condition. So as I move forward into the details, I'm going to frame the discussion around these three: right time, right place, and right treatment. So starting with the right time first, our experience shows that our 7-year rotation works. It works well, and we will be continuing that going forward as part of our proposed strategy. Through this review, we did determine that applying a preservation treatment in the first 2 to 4 years of a segment's pavement life is critical. This type of treatment would fall outside of the 7-year rotation. I want to note that. And we will be doing a program every other year countywide. And I will talk a little bit more about this treatment in an upcoming slide. And I have a visual for this with our zone map on the next slide, but this was something that I learned through this process. So I wanted, in the right time category, that chip seal, sometimes we think it's a 1-year thing, but it's actually a 3-year process, and our pavement preservation whole strategy is a 3-year process. And year 1, we do contracted crack seal and contracted large patch and pavement repair and vegetation and tree trimming. Year 2 is when we do the chip seal in that zone. And then year 3 is when we do our contract slurry seal or other treatments. And so as an example of that, this year, in relation to chip seal and pavement preservation, we're working in zones 5, 6, and 7. So zone 5, we're doing our slurry seal. It was where the zone we chipped last year. Zone 6, we're actively in chip seal mode. And then in year 7, we're looking ahead. We're doing contract crack seal, patch and repair, and vegetation, or cutting back the vegetation. So moving into the right place. So hand in hand with the 7-year cycle is our 7 zones. This model works very well. And again, we will continue that system. And in general, our strategy will be a process improvement type of strategy. It's something that we will look at year after year. So depending on the size of the county and the number of lane miles, maybe that the number of zones would have to change in the future. But for now, that it's working. So one thing was very clear as we began to meet and discuss our chip seal process. The goal of all arterials, all collectors, and 50% of residentials was no longer applicable. It was a good goal when we had no other processes or preservation treatments, But now we have a better understanding and we have more process and we have more data. Our program that we use to track our PCI and our pavement conditions is, there's upgrades over time and we have more data. So for each zone, we will select segments for chip seal strategically. We will utilize a decision tree that will include factors such as PCI, how many times a road has been chip sealed in the past, available treatments, and road classification. This decision tree will also be used to select roads for different types of preservation treatments, so not just chip seals. And we will continue, as we do today, to remove segments from chip seal or preservation if there's an upcoming project, an ACHD project, a utility project, or development. So that's the big news right there. So I do want to just pause really quick in case there's a question on.
Commissioner Nielsen.
Yeah, thanks, Diane. This is fascinating, or a nerd here. But is part of the choosing segments would be the fleet mix? Like if you have an industrial area that has a lot of heavy truck traffic, does that factor into a need for more frequent or inspections or measurement of pavement condition? I don't know. Yeah.
President Gold, Commissioner Nelson, I'll say not necessarily. I mean, generally the road is designed to handle the industrial area or the truck traffic that's predicted. But and the use of the road the PCI could factor into that, of how quickly the road is degrading. And yes, that in that sense, it would be factored into the decision making, but it would still stay on the 7-year rotation.
Okay. Yeah, I was
As
just,
long as it was in preservation mode.
yeah, I was just thinking like all the areas around the airport or south of the airport, but thank you. Yeah.
Commissioner Pickering.
Yeah, thanks. Diane, thank you for this. I think I get a lot of questions, and I don't want to assume that you all do too, but obviously it's a mix of, oh my gosh, chip sealing, the impacts of chip sealing, but also why isn't my street being chip sealed? So how are we going to, reach out and talk about the decision tree and how that actually impacts the everyday Ada County resident? Like, I'm kind of wondering, like, how do we do that? That
Yes.
feels kind of hard. Have you thought of that?
I think our great and wonderful communications team is going to help us with that and getting the word out and explaining our new strategy and our new, and a lot of the questions about why didn't my road get chip seal, a lot of those go to pavement management, our pavement management engineer, Rick, through maintenance as well. And when we have gone through the process of selecting segments, we will have a clear reason to tell a particular property owner of why we aren't chip sealing or doing a slurry seal or other kind of treatment on their road.
Okay, thank you. And I think like one common thread, which I'm sure you know, Rick, is like the smaller cul-de-sacs and things like that. So I think we've given them a lot of the same. Yeah, it's a cul-de-sac. It doesn't have high use, right? But when will they be considered to be part of the schedule? I think having that, at least they can look forward to that, or if there's a process, if it breaks down before that, because obviously with more and more roads that need these treatments, it's going to even prolong some of those other segments that have been put on the back burner for quite some time. So we'll need to have some plan for that.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner Pickering. That was my question too, just in terms of how we're going to communicate this to folks, because, Zone 5 in my district was chip sealed last year and not all of it was chip sealed. And so that was definitely feedback I got as well, where people were expecting their streets to be chip sealed and then it wasn't. And so I think having that communication strategy is a really important piece of this.
And we're starting the selection process earlier. So we're already looking ahead to FY26 and what road, with this new strategy. And so we can get the maps out, get that communication out. So that people already know that their road will be treated or not treated. So.
Commissioner Nielsen?
As a comment, I'm kind of smiling because I'm really happy to see this because I remember, probably 20 years ago and listening to the ACHD commissioners at the time, really happy with a high PCI like in the 80s or, and I said, I don't know that that's sustainable fiscally, So as we've grown, I'm really happy to see this more strategic process because it is the largest asset of the district. And the more we can be strategic and hit that sweet spot of preserving the pavement for as long as possible at the right cost, then the more resources we have for other community needs as well, the capital projects, the community program, and the rest of it. So I'm really, really happy to see this effort because I know it. We have better tools, like you said, and seeing them used to very business-like strategy just makes me really happy. Thank you.
So I did want to touch on a few more of the bullet points that are up there under the process on chip seal. So maintenance, our 7 zones are actually broken up into even smaller areas called maintenance areas. So that's another layer, that we have available to us in our mapping, and that we can select neighborhoods and mostly like the residential roads by maintenance area, which really just ties into efficiency of a chip seal process in general. So through this efficiency lens, we will be chip sealing roads that may not necessarily need to be chip sealed because of our decision tree, but starting and stopping chip seal is very inefficient. So there's times where we just need to continue through and chip seal roads, even though they weren't necessarily selected through the decision tree process. So I did want to point out the flip side to that, just for efficiency. And then as always, the context of the road matters too. I did want to point this out. Long straight roads are easier to chip seal, more efficient. And then north end of Boise, not so much, right? So, and last but not least, the capacity of our crews, including the number of temp employees we're able to hire for the season, high temperatures, air quality, all of those things factor in to our production. Okay, so let's talk more about the right treatment. So crack seal, ACHD forces and capital contract does the crack seal. So we contract out arterials and collectors, and then in-house forces do all the residential roads. 100% of the roads in that zone that year are crack sealed. And this is very important to note because crack seal is a pavement preservation treatment. So every zone, as we move through, every road does get a pavement preservation treatment. Note, sometimes we pass over crack seal, right? And so when someone gets called and says, you didn't chip seal my road, but we did apply a pavement preservation treatment to your road, we crack sealed it. Will be part of the answer, at least. Fog seal, I'm pointing this out because it's not required with chip seal. It is an extra pavement preservation treatment that we do to finish the road, and it does help, but everyone loves that clean black surface, especially if we get new striping down. Patching and repair, including potholes. Traditionally, this has been ACHD forces only, but through this review process, we identified that there are some larger repairs that would be better suited to contract out. So our safety engineering team takes a look and does the design and then bids those out. So we're going to you'll start seeing that in the budget and the 5-year plan, a new project type of doing contracted patching and repairs. And then the smaller ones will continue to be done by ACHD forces. Chip seal, I think we're all familiar with that process. Auto seal, special use application that we all are aware of it because of the recent project on 8th Street extension. We also used it on Blacks Creek Road a few years ago. Slurry seal, this is one we've been using for a few years now. So it's contracted out through the capital program. and it's applied in the zone the year after chip seal. So rejuvenators, this is a new one. And this is what we would like to use on the new roads in their first 2 to 4 years of life. And like I said, it wouldn't follow the zone approach because we're going to target those roads that are in their early 2 to 4 years old. You'll see this treatment in the budget for FY27, and it'll be in the 5-year plan in the budget every other year. It'll be rotated with roundabout rehabilitation, which I will talk about in August. Because this is new, we are working with rejuvenator manufacturers now. And just to give you a little bit more information, it's a sprayed on application, and it replenishes lost oils and resins, sealing the pavement and preventing further degradation. The process extends the life of the pavement and it improves its durability. They last about 5 to 7 years, and we would like to apply them twice before a road is chip sealed. And if you do some math there, that could mean a new road would be 12 to 18 years old before we would need to chip seal it. So we think this is a really good new innovation, and we're looking forward to trying it in FY27. So hot in place chip seal. This is a treatment we continue to watch in other jurisdictions, and we are working with a contractor to potentially have a demo project. And then pavement management and our maintenance crews, they go to conferences every year. We're always looking for that new idea and new products to become available.
Madam President.
Commissioner McKinney?
Diane, just a quick question. While we're on this subject, what's the big picture? How much of our budget are we spending every year? How much do we spend every year on pavement preservation? And what portion of that is just the chip seal portion of it? I imagine those big numbers, you might possibly know those offhand.
I know that Lloyd just presented that a couple weeks ago. 9. So it's 9 million for chip seal, which is still the biggest portion in dollar wise of our pavement preservation. I'm gonna look back at Rick. Is it a couple $1 million for slurry?
For slurry and crack seal.
Okay, and it's about $2 million plus or minus for crack seal and slurry seal annually.
So for this whole list of things that we're looking here, on an annual basis, about 11 million, or is it a little more than that?
That's in the range.
Okay.
Commissioner Nielsen?
First question is the hot in place chip seal. Is that what ITD has used recently? And I think they had some lessons learned from that.
Yes, President Gold, Commissioner Nielsen, yes, they did it on multiple segments, Chinden, Glenwood, Broadway, and State Highway 21. And a small portion of Chinden is where they had their issues. And we have been meeting with them, working with them, and learning why they had those issues. So we can tighten up the specification if we decide to do that in the future. One area we've identified that it could be useful is on our very high traffic, high volume arterials that are just, it'd be better to do them at night. And our crews don't, we work during the day, and there's a lot of traffic control and a lot of things that go in. And so it would be a special use application when we're in an area like State Street or Fairview or Overland or something like that, and when there's that segment of that road in that zone.
And then just another comment, because I don't, I think as we look at the maintenance part of the budget, I think getting a good handle of our cost per mile, however, and just like the PCA, how that changes over time as we add more to the inventory. Is there a predictive number there of like when we accept a new street, even if a developer builds it, then what is our maintenance cost for 20 years for that lane mile? That's something I'd be interested in understanding as we where the O&M and the capital lines cross. where are we at there? You know, how much in the future is our budget going to be maintaining the system, and then what resources are going to be available for capital projects? So I think that what you're doing is fantastic because it helps balance things hopefully a little better, but I'd be interested in understanding that as we go forward. So, thanks.
So just a summary slide here that the zone approach, 7 zones, 7-year cycle is the right approach. It's predictable, efficient, and cost effective. We will continue chip seal. It is our bread and butter of pavement preservation, and our crews are good at what they do. Right now, for other preservation treatments, we are not counting crack seal or fog seal. It gets as part of our chip seal process and other things. Slurry seal is the only other pavement or preservation treatment we're using, but we hope to add rejuvenators and others as they become available. So strategic segment selection is the key and the difference to our new strategy. The bottom line, if we choose not to treat a segment beyond crack seal, it will be for the right reasons. Our overall strategy and funding is what really impacts our pavement condition. As our network grows and our pavement ages, funding will need to increase. So to your point, Commissioner Nelson, we'll have be watching that through our budget process for the years to come. But network grows, the maintenance budget grows. So, and just some next steps. We will continue our review of our rehabilitation programs. This is mill and inlays, reconstructs, or cul-de-sacs, reconstructs. And then I will be back in August for that presentation. And then we will finalize our new strategy. And we already mentioned, but we will be working closely with communications to get the word out on our new strategy.
Madam President.
Commissioner Pickering.
Thank you, Diane, so much, and the rest of the team for this. Another question for Shandy and the comms team. One other question I get quite frequently, and you mentioned it in your presentation, is the importance of doing that chip seal right after we've done a new road. I do get like 2 to 3 years right after that. I get a lot of questions about that. And so I'm just wondering if that can be an emphasized bullet in those comms going into the summer and chip seal season.
Yeah, Madam President, Commissioner Pickering, absolutely. We see that a lot on social media as well. We try to continuously remind people that it is like a sunscreen for the roads. And that seems to be the best way to explain that to people, that you don't want to wait until you're already burnt to apply sunscreen. And same with chip seal process. Just overall, as far as communication strategy goes on all of this, though, it's been fun to sit back and kind of watch this develop and have our wheels turn on how we will approach this. And I think one of our biggest things is that we really have just focused so much on chip seal as our preservation process when there are other things that we're doing, and it's emphasizing those other things as well. So we already have a crack seal video on Blake's agenda to help explain that that is a preservation tool, even if it is not part of chip seal. So we will be adjusting the way that we're communicating all of this, and look forward to working with the preservation team to develop all of that and get that out so that the community really understands why we are doing things, or sometimes why we're not doing things.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Diane, and all the team for working on this. Obviously, really timely to reassess this approach. As Commissioner Nielsen mentioned, as we've grown in tools and products and technology has changed, it's important for us to adapt to that. So really appreciate the whole team taking this on and the update on the effort.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, that's all we have an executive session, but that otherwise is all for today, and we'll see y'all next week.